You are not hidden. There's never been a moment that you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. There is no distance that cannot be covered over and over. You're not defenseless. I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. And I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear you whisper you have nothing left. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. And I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. Fight, it's true, I will rescue you.
Okay, hi everybody. I hope you could hear that. So we are at day 2000. Make sure that everything's working. 2034 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss and taken downstairs to the soundproof room of the arms room that was sealed. We have the seal number. We also have the testimony of the Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane, confessing that the General, Major General James Eisenhower, gave an illegal order to totally renovate that room without any regards to expense and without any regards to protocol for bidding or anything like that. That they just wanted it done. And that was evidence tampering and obstruction of justice and the betrayal of an oath, of the oath. Um, I call it the big T, y'all. I call it the big T. After that video plays, it takes me a minute, to get myself together because that's why I don't play it very often. Oh, gosh. Um, so very big news that has happened in the last few days. And of course, the posts are going viral. We have millions of views. And we want to thank you all because people are understanding now that President Trump was right all along. This is a cartel problem. This is an invasion. This is an infiltration of our country. Um, it is it's a Trojan horse. I think I've been saying that for a long time. Inside our military, inside our judicial system, inside um, our businesses, everything. They made a deal. The Mormon faction, El Paso cartel, which is huge, it's not limited to El Paso, made an alliance with the Mexican cartels. They made an alliance to give access to let them be outside, to operate outside of the law of the United States. This is a constitutional crisis. Gave them visas without any kind of check, right? No check, no scrutiny, no vetting. They got visas. And how do we know there was no vetting? Because um, you have Carlos Manuel Salas, the prosecutor for the North Zone of Juarez, that is forbidden to get a residency in the United States by the Mexican government. An official like him cannot have a residency outside of Mexico, and yet he does. He does, and he just registered his Mercedes S class in December of 2025 in El Paso, Texas. And you see the others that own Plenitude Crematorium, the Purchase Arellano Quran family, that have residency and in the United States and businesses, and they operated a narco crematorium that wasn't even licensed, um, not even following Mexican laws and being in the United States. And I'm just wondering, with their restaurants and their selling liquor, do they even have, I mean, fancy restaurants like Cafe Central, right? They were co-owners of that. They, of course, have Argo Oil and Gas. Of course, they have Plenitude Crematorium. Of course, they have Nomal restaurants. They have tons of businesses. And um, are they getting their licenses? Because they didn't get their license in Mexico, and they are operating as a narco crematorium, as a criminal, a criminal. Well, they're in uh, they're in association with the CJNG because of this funeral fraud, because of the funeral fraud being connected to La Diabla, with the babies, with the organ trafficking. Uh, so, and they're in the United States. And are they I mean, they're selling babies in the black market. What are they doing with these organs? We have El Mencho um, absolutely confirmed to be using, um, not only are they flesh peddlers, but they're flesh consumers, right? They're flesh peddlers, flesh consumers. I don't know if what I'm allowed to say on a live stream because this is so diabolical. This has just spiraled down into the deepest, darkest pit where there is gnashing of the teeth. And, it's biblical, right? It's biblical. Because if you look up in the Bible verses about this, the Bible tells it all. Tells it all, just like it's happening. And we know that they're not considering any kind of laws, have no respect for God, they have no respect for the image of God in human beings. That is sacrilegious. So they don't care about the families that have lost loved ones. They don't care about that. They don't care about victims. Matter of fact, they consume their victims and they even videotape it and then send it out. And they even require it if you want to join their cartel because when you have a crashing of an economy, when you have a very bad economy, or very unfair wages and just a very controlled economy instead of a free market economy, um, then you get desperate people in desperate times. And then they are like, okay, maybe I just need to join the cartel. Or they're kidnapped. Remember, I told you even there's nothing new under the sun. The Ottomans used to do that. They used to go in and kidnap Christian women, Christian children. You have the John of God where they're taking these women and putting them on a farm and making a baby farm, and then they raise these babies up. And in the Ottomans' case, they were Christians. They would kidnap Christian children and women, and they would raise them up to be janissaries, their fighting force. And in CJNG, are young 16, 17-year olds, one article that I read. And to be initiated, you had to consume um, your victims, right? You had to consume your victims and or have your victims consume their loved one or whatever before you took their life also. This is how diabolical, this is how um, depraved, this is how perverted. The word pervert means outside of the temple, outside of the law of God. And this is absolutely outside of the Constitution, outside of the law of the United States of America. And, and I don't think they allow this in Mexico either, do they? I know that you don't have a Second Amendment in Mexico. I know that you don't have the death penalty in Mexico. And I feel for you. Those two things we need desperately at this time. We need desperately. In the United States, we have the Second Amendment. They've tried to, like Beto O'Rourke has tried to whittle, 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 whittle. I mean, he always is talking bad about the Second Amendment, trying to restrict people's right to defend themselves and bear arms. Um, and we have in Texas, thank God very much, we have the death penalty. And we know for sure that this cartel, CJNG, has made its way into Chihuahua. Why do we know that? Because La Diabla was arrested in Chihuahua. She was arrested in Juarez. Okay. And her family was working for Beto O'Rourke. Okay. So we know, and she was a CGNG leader. Okay. A leader. She was a cartel leader. And so that means that the CJNG are in El Paso, and we have even more. We have even more, right? We have even more intel. But that is already out there that you can absolutely take to the bank, that you know that CJNG are in El Paso. And we know that they are all the way up into through Albuquerque, all the way up into Santa Fe. Okay. So CJNG, and I know there's this debate right now. You don't have to even engage in that debate, because you have got the winning hand. And that is, you come here, we remind you of what already the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, already gave a whole press conference on, La Diabla, right? La Diabla, that CJNG, a cartel leader, that means, because she was training 16, 17-year-old girls to perform these C-sections, to target these crisis pregnancies in the United States, right? And said, "Oh, well, come over the border real quick. We'll give you a cheap C-section, right? We'll take care of you." And they didn't realize what the payment would be their organs also, um, and then they would take the babies and um, sell them in the black market, targeting. This is where they're over in the United States, targeting the homosexual couple black market. Okay, with trying to selling for $14,000 these babies. Okay, $14,000. I mean, so we know that they are in, and we, like I said, we know more, but because there are ongoing investigations, and this is uh, this is a process or a plan or a strategy, and I would say that that plan was taken from General MacArthur. Okay, General MacArthur, very clever general, and cutting off the energy, right? The the theft of the siphoning of fuel. Remember that Cesar Peniche, Grupa Carvel, is implicated in participating in the siphoning of billions of barrels of fuel from the Pemex, from the People's Fuel of Mexico, the Mexican People's Fuel, and then selling it back to uh, the Chihuahuan government for contracts with, to get taxpayer money, and then also in his Carvel um, fuel depot, gas stations. Really, really criminal. Okay. But that was cut off now, right? And of course, we know that Argo Oil and Gas, that is part of all of this, that the same owners of Plenitude Crematorium, um, where we believe our son's remains are, is the same owners of Argo Oil and Gas, sharing the same space as El Paso Matters. That very wicked and biased Bob Moore, who reported falsely on our son, and in every way. So, with very bad intentions, I should say it that way, with very bad intentions, false narrative with very bad intentions. So, Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you so much. Justice is coming, right? Justice has been coming. It's not like we think, right? It has to be very deliberate and thought out, um, because we have been infiltrated, right? So it's not like what we have paid for with our taxpayer money. We have been infiltrated. We have compromised judges. We have compromised oversight, the oversight of our judicial system. It has been compromised. And we can, that's probably breaking news to a lot of people, but we can confirm that it has been compromised. And of course, um, our Congress has been compromised. We see that with Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez, we see that with Veronica Escobar, totally compromised. We see that with Beto O'Rourke. He used to be a congressman and wanted to be a senator and was a presidential candidate. Totally compromised. And we've been showing you how deliberately, intentionally, um, a criminal network, a criminal um, cartel tied uh, pipeline for trafficking and control of policies that would get them contracts, taxpayer paid contracts. I had one person, and I wanted to answer them in a much a better way than me just doing things from heart like I do here on my podcast. But she asked about how El Paso Matters is taking advantage of the taxpayers. Well, El Paso Matters is bias, right? They are biased, and they are in their formation document. Uh, they said they are exclusively for the benefit of El Paso Community Foundation. That's who owns them, right? Is El Paso Community Foundation. And they are exclusively supposed to work to their benefit. And they are then a 501c3. And then they changed their just recently, right? But for years, they are saying we don't have to pay taxes. We don't have to pay taxes. So we can get this money, and we don't have to pay the taxes. So the tax pool is smaller. So that means they are taking advantage of taxpayers because the taxpayers have to pay what they don't pay. And also, what would, they're taking taxpayer money um, away from legitimate causes, right? Legitimate causes. So and there is, and his salary is also, not legitimate, right? Under what we have found out about the way El Paso Matters works with El Paso Community Foundation and the way they get grants, and then they don't have to pay taxes. And people that donate also don't have to pay taxes. So what they do is they shrink the tax pool or make other people pay for what they don't pay, and what they're sucking in they don't have to pay taxes. And so they've really manipulated the system. And I'm going to put it, like I said, I'm going to put it in better words, uh, where you can understand. I'll even post it because I think it's really important for people to understand this syndicate, this very criminal syndicate, um, which I don't even think describes them well. I think Mormon faction, El Paso cartel in alliance with the Mexican cartel, and also with Jeffrey Epstein's pipeline. Okay, I think that is the best way to describe this right now, um, because this is in alliance with Obama, with the Chicago Pritzkers and Oprah and it's, coming out more and more, all the other people that are involved in this. And we know that they're involved because let's take Beto for an example. With his father-in-law being a billionaire, buying a ranch right above Zorro Ranch, bordering on the north part of that ranch, right there very close to Santa Fe, where Oprah has a home, and the Obamas would come. They have reasons to come to Santa Fe, and um, so Bill Sanders has that property. He also owns Storage USA, where, the breaking news today was that, um, there's a lot of indications, evidence indicates that Jeffrey Epstein's evidence is stored in storage units at Storage USA. So that's being investigated, right? To see what comes out of that. We'll see, because we've been infiltrated. So can we even trust the investigators, right? We have to be the investigators. We have to have a very aware mind to understand that the people that we've entrusted to do these investigations, to bring about justice and accountability, have been compromised. And so now, and I'm talking about, even if you are the director, let's say people always are talking bad about Kash Patel. But if the job he took on was just incredible, because he has a lot of mutinous people in the FBI. So in 1 year, let's give them a little bit more. I know that they've been cleaning things up because of the intel that we have been getting, and also because of this capture and killing of El Mencho. It is so big because of 5 years ago, I believe it was 5 years ago, or it was 6 years ago. Um, but I know Obrador, the prior Mexican president, had to have a press conference to tell people that no, El Mencho had not been captured or killed. Well, now he has been. Okay, now he has been, and that. Uh, so this has been going on for a while, knowing the brutality, knowing the disregard for the human body and the image of God, knowing the consumption, illegal consumption, of human beings. And that Gabriella was absolutely correct in what she was warning everybody about. That was absolutely a warning. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I posted up a video of Gabriella. Let me see if I can go here and post it, because I think it's very, very important to remember her and what she did. There she is. Okay, so here she is. Beautiful, beautiful young lady, into modeling. And she warned us in 2009 that they were doing this ugly trademark of El Mencho. That's El Mencho's trademark. And so there it is. So I think it's really important. Here's El Mencho. And of course, um, because CJNG is so big, right? So big in Jalisco. But I have to warn everybody, warn, warn, warn. I put up that warning sign that they are in El Paso, okay? And they are not just tiptoeing into El Paso. They have been in El Paso, and they are already tied into the system in a very big way. They are absolutely rooted in El Paso, up at Albuquerque and in Santa Fe. And so this is a huge warning that, and hopefully an understanding of what we're dealing with, because President Trump has, turned off the fuel. And then he extradited. He had arrested and extradited the finance cartel leaders. Remember when he did the 29 of them, right when he got into office, like a year ago? Uh, really went after them because they can sing like a bird. What's interesting is that this American led Mexican special forces capture and killing of El Mencho. Um, Normally they would want to just capture them, like El Mayo, like El Chapo, like, oh gosh, dozens and dozens more, including including Martha Mendez, right? Aguilar, who is La Diabla. They would want to capture them, and then they would want to interrogate them for more information. They didn't do that with El Mencho, okay? He is that big leader, and and they didn't do that. They did not need him to sing for them. They have El Chapo, they have El Mayo, they have so many others. I think that they are in a very good position on knowing what's going on. And so they are absolutely now breaking apart, crumbling, hitting it very hard. The Chinese uh, trade deals with them, okay? The alliance that the Mexican cartels have with the Chinese, and they do. And I know that because I have boots on the ground in Panama. That absolutely has been telling us what's going on down there. And until like a year ago, a little more than a year ago, even the signs were starting to come down and be put back up in Chinese. So this is Chinese um, is criminal alliance with the Mexican cartel, and that is being because of the tariffs, because of the leadership of the cartels, dozens and dozens of them. Uh, they are their spigot, their business is crumbling. And that's why you see them come out with such violence, because they are really being hit hard. Okay. It's crumbling. And to have a leader um, be captured and then killed, they don't mind doing that to everybody else, but when their leader is that way, they understand that the money is their way of life, And see, they've all compromised themselves by becoming, flesh eaters, right? And human flesh eaters, right? They've all compromised themselves like this, those that are in the CGNG. That's an initiation for that cartel, y'all. It's a very, very brutal, the most brutal cartel. And where are they going to go? What I mean, uh, how do you recover from that, right? How do you recover? How do you, that's why they're panicking, because they're in crisis mode. They're in absolute crisis, chaotic crisis mode. And the only thing a cartel knows how to do of that caliber is to become violent, right? And that's why they're becoming so violent and with all the burning and everything. And people ask, what do they want? Well, they want hell on earth. Literally, they want hell on earth. They, they have just gone so far that they've lost their want and acknowledgement of anything good. When you lose sight of God's image in human beings, when you lose that sight, it gets very ugly. Very, very ugly. Because then you prey on little ones. And this is why there's so many, 500,000 through Fort Bliss alone, of unaccompanied children that were trafficked. So, yeah, it gets very serious. So let's go through the news. There was so much today. And of course, the posts are going viral, and I'm very happy. That's where we do the storage units. I've covered them, and I hope you go to the post. This is the post for it. It's just jaw dropping because you see all the circle coming full closure, right? All around. It just brings everything around from Bill Sanders right here, who owns also the ranch at the same time as Jeffrey Epstein, right there, to Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke living next to the owners of the Plenitude owners, sharing space with El Paso Matters, which is El Paso Community Foundation. These two, Woody Hunt, but Sanders donates heavily to El Paso Community Foundation. Paul Foster donates heavily to the El Paso Community Foundation. It would be interesting to know if Obama donates heavily to the El Paso Community Foundation, or ever did, or maybe even Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't that be something if Jeffrey Epstein, because it's definitely an elitist donor group. And, but you see how they are part, of course, Paul Foster with the fuel, right? He's in energy. And of course, the Ariano Caron family, Argo Oil and Gas. And so everything comes full circle. It's all connected. And all they're trying to do is be a fraudster, be a scammer, do a Ponzi scheme on the people of Mexico, on the people of the United States, and extort from them. Extort, exploit. They just, and because they would easily get into an alliance with the likes of Mencho, and I hope I'm saying his name right. Uh, Come on, he's just brutal, absolutely brutal. And to bring that into the United States, to give them visas, to allow them to operate businesses, and I don't even believe that they even follow the licenses and the liquor licenses and everything that a regular person would have to follow. So how do you compete with that? How do you compete with that? And that's how they grew so fast. That's how they gained so much. I don't even know if they pay taxes, right? I don't even know if they pay any taxes because they're operating so illegally in a constitutional crisis mode in the United States. Um, and so, small businesses can't compete with that, right? If you're a small restaurant or whatever, and you have to follow all of the rules and the regulations and the licenses and all of that, and another person doesn't, no wonder small businesses have been going out of business, whereas the cartel owned businesses or those in alliance with the cartel have been doing fine, have been growing. And that's why um, it's really important to have a very healthy economy and get that going again uh, when we are arresting these people, because they are business owners. So every time you arrest them, um, you are hitting the economy. You are hitting their employees. You are, and I know that sounds like, what? These are people that do the worst type of crimes, and we're supposed to be careful about arresting them. Well, we've got to build the economy first so that when these people lose their jobs because of um, tax default or closing them down because of who their owner is, they have somewhere to go. They have a good job market to go to so that they can recover very quickly and not suffer even more. So this is, I mean, when you look at the spreadsheets of what these people own and what they're up to, all the way through El Paso, up through Albuquerque into Santa Fe, and of course in Juarez. Look, Cesar Duarte owned what, 20 homes alone in El Paso? So his arrest, what does that mean? And, what does that mean to Dreams Cabaret? Because of his wife, is she arrested because of the Fong Maia? We've wondered, because her last name is Fong. How many Fongs are there, right? Um, so I think people need to take that into consideration, that this whole arrest and accountability is absolutely something that has to be planned out. Many people have to be involved, including people that work for the economy, as well as the lawyers that criminal justice, uh, also military justice, because a lot of these people are in the military. So this is uh, it is happening. It is happening, because to turn off the spigot of the leader of CJNG is absolutely going to impact um, their operations in El Paso, Albuquerque, and up through Santa Fe. It's absolutely going to do that, and that's why there's so much chaos, and they're going crazy. So, but even them that are in there, and I don't know how they're going to recover, but President Trump is absolutely focused on the economy. Everyone that's not focused on the economy, like the Fed chairman, he's, very late in dropping the interest rates, Mr. Late, and we understand that totally, because he doesn't care about spending 3 billion or 4 billion for some renovation for the Fed building, but he doesn't care about the economy of the people, right? So yeah, it's very clear that there is saboteurs in there trying to make the numbers worse, to make this administration look worse. I know that sounds funny, but this is absolutely what we've been seeing. And there's no doubt in my mind. And so I have to report it like what the evidence indicates and confirms. And the evidence confirms that we have a lot of people that are thwarting the law, that have come into the country on illegal terms, and they are up to no good. President Trump has been right all along. They're up to no good. They're fraudsters, and they're waiting to exploit you and take advantage. And they have absolutely done that. I can confirm that to you. That's what's going on in El Paso. So let me answer your questions here and your the chat. the chat. Thank you so much, Laura, for your prayers and your love, and Teresa, of course, and Renee, Buddy Wayne Webb. Okay, thank you so much for sharing this live stream with all your family and friends. I really appreciate it. Molly, ooh, I love the name Molly. I love the name Molly. One of my granddaughters' names is Molly. Um, my friend's friend is stuck in Porto Oh, I'm Volarte. I just am, praying for these Americans, and I'm sure that the State Department is absolutely aware of all of this and will keep them safe or get them out as soon as possible. Anicia, thank you for your love and your prayers all the time. And the stars in their course fought from heaven. And that is a verse from a judge, Deborah. She was a judge. Um, and it's from the book of Judges in the Bible. And she has victory over a very, very great evil. And she sings a victory song. And in that song, she says, the stars in their course fought against Sisera. And is just has been one of those verses, and if you've been watching me from the beginning, one of those verses that I've said over and over again, because these people, they think that they're so big, they think they're Goliaths, they think they have the judicial system in their pocket, and they do, and the politicians in their pocket, and the oversight individuals in their pocket, the Congress in their pocket, the senators in their pocket, the police in their pocket, the DPS in their pocket, and they do. The DPS is a public security threat. Okay, the DPS, the Texas Rangers, are a public security threat, especially Company E. And they think they can act with impunity, that they can be fraudsters, that they can exploit you, that they can harass you and threaten you, and everything that we've been through. And but you know what? They're wrong. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, the stars in their course, they can't manipulate the stars in their course, fought against Sisera. And it's just a beautiful verse. I've always loved it. And it should be, in songs all over the place, in my opinion, because it's such a powerful, powerful verse. It's kind of like the Magnificat, right? It's the legal version of the Magnificat. Um, so, Chris, thank you. Respect, never give up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And of course not. Of course not. And it's gotten very choppy. All the threats and everything, but God has sustained us, really. And I'm not just saying it. Absolutely. And people that have witnessed this absolutely know that we're telling the truth. So, and we are absolutely trying to win everybody's respect and everybody's trust. Um, yeah, that's our goal, because we know if we win the people's trust and respect, then we absolutely have um, the biggest um, win in order to get our son's remains back, because it's all about the people. It's all about the people, and um, they can demand it. They can demand it. The more that demand that Mexico give us back our son's remains, or that it's in we believe it's in Mexico's hands. We believe it's at Plenitude Crematorium. Um, but we also have evidence that the FBI knew about it. Um, but we believe it's in Mexico's hands with all the other information we have, and they need to give us back our son's remains. And if the people demand it, the people in Mexico, God bless you if you speak Spanish and you're translating this for the Spanish-speaking community. Thank you so much, and I've heard that that's what's happening right now. Um, and those that are in the United States, we absolutely are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The more that absolutely demand it, the return of a U.S. Army soldier that was trafficked to Mexico after being his life being taken from him on our military installation, Fort Bliss. Yeah, that's what it takes. So that's why we are day in and day out trying to earn your respect and your trust. If you want to stop funding billionaires, please stop rounding up your money. That's how we pay for their taxes. Yeah. What with the MAGA hat? Because we are in alliance with President Trump dismantling the cartel in Mexico, and we are in alliance with MAGA to uh, for these angel families, for Gold Star families, for um, uh, rooting out the infiltration of CJNG out of our government and businesses and everything. They they are flesh eaters. They are human flesh eaters, and they are in alliance with flesh peddlers. And this is what President Trump has been absolutely, um, he's been pounding them. He's been pounding them. And he just took the head off of CJNG, the head leader. Yes. It's absolutely, uh, and stopping the fuel from being siphoned that belong to the Mexican people. And there's indications that some of that fuel was from the United States that was being siphoned and stolen. So, yeah, it's DPS, and that went to Maduro with the uh, hacked voting machines, and of course with the whole fuel situation. So, yeah. Since DPS is in charge of keeping an eye out of the people, yes, the cradle will fall. Yes. Oh, thank you for writing in Spanish, Laura. Okay, so I do want to mention real quick, and I should have posted it on here. Um, but this morning, I believe it was this morning, I've been watching so much stuff. There was the press conference with Mexican President Scheinbaum and the head of the Mexican military and security. Um, the head of the Mexican military started to cry. Started to cry. He cried. Our intel is that over 70 people lost their lives in this capture and killing of, well, the aftermath of El Mencho. They are absolutely going crazy, right? I want you to know, though, that over 400 bodies were at Plenitude Crematorium. And CJNG in Jalisco also had a crematorium, also had their ovens, also had their refrigerators, also had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shoes and all of that. So the death toll absolutely is something to cry about. But for the head of the army, he should be mad as hell for what has happened to Mexico. He should be mad as hell at this cartel infiltration. But Mexico is a narco state. And I think it's from fear and loss of control. I think they've lost control. They thought compromising with the devil would guarantee them continued control. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. Now, we will see. We will see. But from what we know and from what we've experienced, I think that they're crying because they've lost control of their country. So it is a crisis. It's a constitutional crisis there, and we have our own in the United States constitutional crisis because we have infiltrated cartel, brutal cartel that do not follow our laws. Do not. So thank you so much. Okay, everyone, I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing and coming on and sharing, because that's how we're going to get results. and you see by the posts how the truth is being revealed. So thank you so much.